Dear God, please don't let me relapse and return to the evil that men do. Father God, I pray and ask that you help me to have mercy on others the same way I will. Say, what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down. Now, for those of y'all new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I ended up serving 24 years straight in the California prison system. During those times, I accumulated some good stories, and I'm gonna share some stuff with y'all today. In the event you happen to like this story, then definitely be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell. That way, anytime I drop a story, you will be notified ASAP, and you can hop on it whenever you're ready. Now today, I got an extremely special interview for you guys. I got a partner of mine, Isaac. Isaac was also incarcerated, a former Sureno. He done a lot of time. At one point in time, he had life. And so we'll, during the interview, he'll discuss all that type of stuff. And hopefully you guys will enjoy this video, man. This is very rare, we coming together, making some good information and trying to get some good content out to you guys. So let's hop right into the interview, man. So Isaac, man, I want to thank you, first of all, for reaching out to me and stuff, being willing to come on my channel and share your story, man. I'm extremely thankful to have you, so thank you a lot, man.
Man, thanks for having me, bro. I look forward to just coming and sharing with you guys and with you, that the things that I've been through and the struggles. I started out pretty young, so there's a lot of stories, man. I like your content. I was digging a lot of your content, and I just thought I could bring a little different flavor to your channel. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, looking forward to it, man. All
right, hey, thank you, man. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up at, and that type of stuff.
So I grew up in the city of Rosemead, South San Gabriel, which is about 10 miles east of downtown LA. And I started the life, gang banging and all that kind of stuff at a pretty young age, 9 years old. 4th grade is when I first got introduced to it. Got jumped in right around the 12-year-old mark. And I've been, I went through all the stages, bro, the juvenile halls, the placements, the camps. Went to the county jail at 16, went through the prison system. I had a J number. I went to prison in 1995, December 5th, to be exact. And, that's all I knew, man, is that lifestyle. I didn't have a father. My mom worked, nights, she worked days too, and me and my brother, we pretty much did whatever we wanted. And there's a lot there in between. I'm sure we'll get around to it, but that's pretty much a little nutshell summary of my life.
Right. And so, okay, you said something that I'm pretty sure that'll strike a lot of people as odd, and me as well. So at 9 years old, man, so was this type of culture and atmosphere, was it around you? I mean, that's extremely young. So, how was you introduced to that so young?
Yeah, I'm pretty amazed when I look back, because I look at kids now, what I'm saying, little youngsters, and I'm like, man, I already seen some crazy stuff at that age, man. So the way that happened is, where I grew up in a trailer park type setting, and it was like it still exists to this day, it's like a little baby Mexico. There wasn't gang stuff going on in there necessarily, but there's a one individual that he ended up being a good friend. He was about 3 years older than me, so he was already in junior high when I was in 4th grade. And in junior high back then, this is in the late 80s, so back then you start out really young. So he was already being involved in the neighborhood and stuff, and so I kind of used to tag along with him.
Right.
So I would go to the neighborhood with him, started dressing, a certain way, started wearing baggy pants, started catching on the lingo, and I wanted that. Right. Like I said, I didn't have a father, so to me it was something that it filled that void, I guess you could say. And it was pretty, I'm looking for the word, it was something that appealed to me.
Right.
I mean, it was appealing, that's the word I was looking for. It was very appealing at a young age. And I dug it, bro. I dug the style, you know what I'm saying? And so that's how I got introduced to it at a very young age, and then from there it never stopped, bro. It just in little increments, man. Started getting more and more into it, and before you know it, I was from the hood. You know?
Right. So you mentioned that you had a brother. Was he an older brother or a younger brother?
That's another thing. My brother was the same age as that guy that introduced me to the neighborhood. But the funny thing is, my brother, he was kind of already involved in that too, but he wasn't from the hood. He was actually backing up a different hood.
Oh, okay.
I could say it. He was backing up this neighborhood, East Side Rockwood. They no longer exist. They got into a different gang, Garrity, but West Side Rockwood still exists out there in West LA. And there was a guy that had moved to our area, and he was kind of recruiting. And so a lot of my homies that ended up being from my hood, they used to back up that neighborhood, and my brother was one of them. So he was already in that lifestyle. They had, you know what I mean, they used to ride around in bikes and, you know, do the little crime, you know, little crime activities here and there, you know, as a kid, as youngsters.
Right.
So that little element existed, and then eventually my brother ended up backing up the hood, got into the neighborhood as well, and my home was like a party pad because my mom used to go, like I said, she worked nights, so all the homies used to come to the house, you know what I mean, bring the females over, and so that's how that ended up playing out at a pretty young age, man, you know.
Right. And so, okay, and I know that a lot of times you have different gangs have different type of initiations and stuff. So in your particular case, you said you was jumped into the gang. So what made your decision, to get jumped in the gang, and then how did that go? Were you jumped in for a particular amount of time, or?
It was the typical Mexican neighborhoods getting jumped in. Some certain neighborhoods have a certain seconds, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. Mine was just, it was, I believe, I know the month for sure because I got jumped in on my birthday, November 27th. I believe I got jumped in 1990 was it the year, excuse me, and it was my time. My name got called. I backed up the hood for, back then you would have to kind of back up the neighborhood for a certain amount of time and kind of go through certain things, and so it was like probably like a 3-4 year interval. And then I just remember being at the park, and one of the older homies at the time, you guys ready to get in? And of course we're eager, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's do it. Right. And I'm not sure, it was probably for like a minute, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Typical, get jumped in by about 3-4 individuals. I think for me it was 4, I believe. And then that was it, man.
So once you hopped into the game, so now, okay, did like your street activities get turned up a notch? So now, describe what you went to. Are you out there fighting and stuff, beefing with your enemies?
Oh yeah, that had already started before.
Right, okay.
Like the jumping in didn't necessarily, I was already participating in that.
Right.
Before that.
So the jumping in just made it official.
The jumping in just made it official, okay. But actually, like I said, back then you kind of have to, you have to be around, man, and kind of show who you.
Process,
yeah,
right.
Kind of show who you are. The homies kind of fill you out, like, you know what I'm saying, and I'm sure it's like that in every. I don't know how it is now, but back then there was a lot of that.
Just trying to make sure you could pass the test.
Yeah, make sure.
Right. You was built for that type of life.
Exactly,
right,
and if not, some dudes. I mean, I was a kid.
Right.
You kind of get groomed into it. You know what I mean? You get groomed into it. You put on the tough persona. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of it, to be completely honest. It's something that you portray it, you know what I'm saying? It's something you gotta portray.
Right. You gotta be a different individual in certain circumstances because we're trying to impress these older individuals who got their eye on us. And so, we're becoming people outside ourselves in order to fit in, right?
And that's just keeping it 100, man.
Yeah,
I'm sure we all, even as human beings, we all do that at some point in certain ways, but that aspect, to be from the hood, like, come on, we gotta keep it 100, man. Especially when you're a kid, you wanna put off that kind of energy, and like you said, kind of show the homies like, I'm with it. You know what I mean? I'm with it. I'm someone that deserves to be from this hood, and then it becomes your nature, though. Right. Once you kind of go through that, it becomes your nature.
Do it for so long, most definitely.
Yeah.
And then so initially, like when you're out there, was who were your Who were you guys like? Were you beefing with other Hispanics? Was it a black gang your enemies or?
Mainly Mexicans. There was no blacks or brothers around where I grew up, except like 2 cities over in Pasadena.
Right.
But they're too far. So predominantly Mexican and Asians.
Okay.
There's a lot of Asians where I grew up, so we had beef with mainly just one Asian gang. There's a lot of Asian gangs there, but they're not territorial.
Right.
That was like our hood, and they existed there. We coexisted, but like I said, they're not territorial. They're more like business oriented. So there was never no beef like, hey, this is my neighborhood. Because I grew up with a lot of them were my friends.
Right.
But there was one particular neighborhood that they tried. They still didn't have no neighborhood, but they would dress like gang members, shave their hair. They try to look the part like Mexicans, you know?
Right. So about what year you think you would say that you started having encounters with the law and starting to get in legal trouble?
Man, young age, bro. Probably like 10, 11. I was already, I think my first case was trying to steal a car stereo. And that was it, bro. As soon as I got that little case, I caught that tail behind me. Next thing you know, I'm on probation. Next thing you know, I'm going to juvenile hall, getting violations, the probation officer, going to placements and camps, and that's how that started.
So it just continued from there.
Yeah.
So when would you say was your like first encounter with some serious type trouble?
Serious type trouble, probably. Well, I got busted for an assault on a teacher. Actually, he actually assaulted me. This was in L.A. County. It was actually where I live now. It was in Imperial County. I had moved out there for a little bit. My mom moved us out there. One of my homies that got killed, and my mom kind of like got scared, and she wanted to move us out, you know.
Right.
So I ended up going to school out there for a little bit, and I was a bad kid, man. Like I was just bad, to be honest. But quick little story. This teacher, I was in detention, and this teacher, he pushed me. It was kind of like a table like this, and I was a lot smaller, and he kind of pushed me against the table. And I cracked him, bro. He got close to me, and I just cracked him. And that was like my first kind of big thing, like for me, It was an assault. Right. And then, so that was juvenile stuff. And then at 16, I got busted for a kidnap case, which I ended up in the L.A.County jail. I gave them a fake name, and I ended up in the L.A.County jail fighting that case.
Okay.
So that was kind of probably the first big case.
Right. So, a lot of times, and I'm not from L.A. County, but I've heard a lot of stories about L.A. County, and I've heard a lot that it's more notorious than most prisons in California. So what was it like going into L.A. County as a 16-year-old? I mean, because I heard there's a lot of racial tension in there, a lot of fighting and stuff. So, what was going on up in there?
It was a jungle, bro. It was a straight jungle in that place. And
excuse me, about what year?
This was 1994.
Okay.
Exactly 1994. I was 16 years old. And I gave them a fake name because I had signed a YA commitment, and I had AWOL from camp.
Oh, okay.
And actually it was like not camp. It was already like, it was like a halfway house. I was in Nevada, and if I would have gotten arrested under my real name, I would have went to YA. So I tried to skip that,
right. And
I ended up going to the county. So, man, bro, no doubt it was a straight jungle there. It was my first riot was in 9500. I'm pretty sure you've probably heard of it. A lot of people have heard of it. It was made famous through one of Snoop Dogg's songs. I forget, Never Leave Me Alone. Was it Never Leave Me Alone? Where he says, back in 9500, the kind of hand of mine, whoop-de-whoop. Well, 9500 was like it was the biggest dorm. It was the 9,000th floor, and that was I remember my first riot there, bro, and it was just crazy, man. I just remember the noise. The noise level was just, it was probably like maybe like 200-300 people in there.
Right. Now, if you could you give us a little like background information, if you can remember, on the riot? What caused the riot? Who was the riot between and stuff like that?
I don't know what started it, to be honest. I just remember it kicking off.
Right.
It just kicked off.
So what was you doing at the time?
Just hanging out.
Where it was about to happen, and it just
no,
blew up like that.
It was something that happened. It was like one of those boom, and it just cracked off. And I already kind of had a little schooling, but nothing. When you're young, I was 16 years old. You're not really prepared for that. So my initial reaction, I was just stuck. You know, I was like, whoa, like, and I just seen a gang of homies just running towards it. You know what I mean? The thick of it.
So was the riot with the blacks and the Mexicans?
It was with the blacks. Yeah, it was with the blacks, and that's mainly what it is. In L.A. County, it was blacks and Mexicans. The whites at the time, they weren't really a factor. They were actually getting treated really bad, man. In those days, like the whites, man, it was bad, bro. Like on both ends, from the blacks and from the Mexicans, like they get treated no shoes and getting beat up and all that. So it was mainly with just the war was just with blacks whenever it kicked off. So what I do remember is being stuck. I was stunned, man, and then eventually, you know what I mean, I came to my senses and I just went and got involved, bro. Got involved, you know, because you have to get involved.
Right.
And I just remember lasted for probably like what seemed like forever, bro. You know, and then eventually they came in. The worst part about it actually was the aftermath, bro. The with the deputies, because back then the deputies were horrible, man. So they had us. There was these long hallways, and they would strip us, and they'd have us on our knees with our hands behind our back, with our faces against the wall, and they'd have the Mexicans over here. They'd have the blacks. They'd separate us, and they'd have us there literally for hours, bro. Like. And I just remember just little kid, man, just, and if you even move, bro, like if you even move, like, and they see you moving, you're gonna get beat down. And then beat downs back then, it wasn't like a little, they weren't playing no games, you know. You get flashlight treatment. Most of them deputies were corn-fed back then. There was certain criteria I think they had to meet when they used to hire deputies back then.
Right. Let me stop you right now and just ask you a quick question for those who may not know what the flashlight treatment is. Can you explain that?
Flashlight treatment. So every deputy carries a flashlight. They have this belt of like their little tool belt, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
And they have their, you know what I mean, their handcuffs, their mace, and a sap. It was, I don't know if they still have it, but it was like a little heavy little weapon, really. And then they had these big old flashlights. So the flashlight treatment was you getting treated with that flashlight, you know what I'm saying? You're not gonna just get beat with fists. You're gonna get that flashlight treatment, man.
So the deputies was in there just basically just like whooping on you guys, huh?
Yeah, they were assaulting you.
Right. Now back to this riot. Was it just fisting stuff? Was it knives involved?
Nah, I mean, just from what I can remember, that was my first riot, man. After that, there was so many, but I'm pretty sure there was always weapons involved.
Right.
You know?
Is there any particular riot that you had in the L.A. County that sticks out in your mind more than others?
Well, of course, that one, my first one, because I'm not gonna lie, there's a fear level. You know, I had never experienced that, so that I'll never forget it. One particular, I believe, was I had got arrested in 2003, and I was in what they call a pill module. And the reason I was there is because when I got arrested, I got kneed. I was at the Montebello Mall and I got busted for a gun. I was getting chased by the police, and one of the police kneed me in my testicles. So one of my testicles swelled up to like a grapefruit, bro. It was like that.
So that was, of course, intentional, right?
Yeah, it was intentional. Yeah.
For a lot of people that don't know, you know, the police are notorious for whatever reason. When they get people down, they like to kick them and knee them in the private parts and stuff.
Yes.
So, go ahead.
But the crazy part is that when that happened, I was running full speed. So this dude grabbed me and straight, boom, he kneed me, and my testicle, my I believe it was my right testicle, just swelled up like that big, bro, and it was like that for a couple weeks. So they had me on these pills for infection, and they ended up putting me in what you call a pill module. So normally Mexicans in there at the time, I don't know how it is now, we weren't even allowed to go to those places, because a lot of guys, they try to go over there to be away from the main, from it's still mainline, but they try to go and be away from the where it's active. You know what I'm saying? The regular.
So let me just ask a little bit for because I believe I understand what you're saying, but for my viewers who may not understand exactly what you're saying, due to the structure that the Sureños have in prison, they're not allowed to be in that particular their part. So
yeah, we had
because I wanted to ask who's not allowing them to go over there basically.
Well, I mean, as far as us, like, and when I mean us, I'm no longer living like that, and I'm not saying I never PC'd up, nothing like that. I stayed solid all the way through, and I'll get to that part after how I walked away from that. But I still say us because that's still a part of my life.
Right.
But anyhow, or still a part of me, just my makeup, right? But so meaning the homies in there in L.A.County, we have a structure. Everybody does, Right. Blacks have a structure as well, all the races, but we kind of, everybody moves a certain way, and we had these guidelines that we weren't kind of it was frowned upon to go to these pill modules or anything like that because a lot of people would try to stay away from the regular dorms because they know that it's cracking, and back then it was cracking.
Right.
And some people are kind of afraid and scared of that.
Right.
So they would end up in these dorms. The reason I landed there is because they pretty much forced me to be there to take these pills, and I had to take these pills to get better. So that's basically the foundation of where I'm going with this story. So I ended up in this dorm, and I remember my neighbor, he was a Pyru from Compton, and me and this dude, we used to chop it up, bro, sometimes all night on some deep stuff. He was a Muslim, but he was an active Pyru, and we used to always talk about just all kinds of different stuff, bro. Illuminati, conspiracy stuff, religion, all kinds of different things. And he was my boy. He ended up being like I considered him like one of my boys, bro. So what happened is one of the homies ended up getting in an argument with the black, and you know how it is in jail, in prison. If there is no one-on-one when it comes to between races,
right.
If one dude gets in, or you have an altercation with a different race, it's mandatory. We're all gonna be involved. So there's this argument jumping off, and we're upstairs. I lived on the top. It was a Wayside Supermax. So everybody comes upstairs. So you got the whole top tier filled with blacks, and we're outnumbered. The Mexicans are outnumbered because we're not even supposed to be there technically.
Right.
And those of us that are, we got a little pass because of whatever reason for a short period of time. But eventually we got to get out of there, right? And so a lot it's predominantly all black in that dorm, and so what I remember is saying they were arguing, going back and forth, and I kind of jumped in, and I was like, hey, hold up. I was like, let's go downstairs. And it was crazy because everybody followed suit. Nobody said, nah, hell nah. And we all started walking down the stairs. And the reason I said that is because when they were arguing, I'm like, man, it's about to crack off. I'm small. I'm a small dude. I've always been small. So I'm like, it's going to crack off. Someone gonna end up throwing me over this dang tier,
Right.
So naturally, brothers are known for being a lot bigger than essays, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so my you know what I mean? It all just,
my mind was working.
My mind was working, and it popped up, bro. And so boom, everybody started following me down the stairs, and it tripped me out because everybody followed suit, bro. So as soon as we got down there, it was only like, I think 8 of us. There was actually more homies there, but they didn't jump. And as soon as we got down there, we were like, what's up? Like, we already knew it was gonna crack, man, because it was already kind of past the point of no return.
Yeah.
And I just remember like we just got swarmed, bro, by blacks, bro, and it just cracked off. It just cracked off, and it was probably like 4 or 5 to 1 And I remember this clearly, bro. My boy, I forget his name, man, from I believe he was from Campanella, or I'm not sure, but I know he was a pirate from Compton. We seen each other. We like, you know what I mean? And he was a lot bigger than me, bro. And he like, you know, we went the other way. You know what I'm saying? And I got, we all the Mexicans. We got the bad end of that. You know what I mean? We're all lumped up. But that's one of the main ones, bro. Where I remember, and there's just so many, bro. I've been on the tiers. Later on,
well, let me ask you a question here, because outside of this the pill building that you was in right there, and I want your honest opinion, because I hear a lot of people talking, and I always ask each time, in your honest opinion, the general county jail in Atlanta, who runs the county jail, the blacks or the Mexicans?
I mean,
give it to us real.
I really don't know how it is now. But everybody, I wouldn't even say, oh, like that was because blacks have always been a force to be reckoned with. I mean, it's always that element has always been there. But as far as numbers and kind of dictating, like for instance, blacks never wanted, they've always been even proud of, we ain't got no shot callers. We're all, you know what I mean? We're all just one, like we ain't gonna have all that. And especially back then in those days. Now it's a little different. Now there's always gonna be a rep, someone speaking up, right? An OG or whatever. But back then it was a lot different. But to answer your question, I mean, I wouldn't say like, oh, man, I mean, as far as for us, yeah, we you know, because just the way things are structured, you know what I mean? There's a different structure, and we're a different people,
right?
A different culture, and we just have different ways of being, you know what I'm saying? Right. But blacks are pretty organized too, man, especially the Bloods. You know, the Bloods always seem to be a little bit more structured. Not saying that the Crips weren't. And like I said, I'm speaking back then, in 90s. I'm speaking the 90s.
And I respect your answer, you know, because everybody has different experiences, and so that's why I always like to ask. You know?
But I know why you're asking, because I've heard the oh, we run, you know what I mean, like, but that's not necessarily true, bro, because if that's the case, it's not like if that's the case, that means they wouldn't have no kind of power, and that's not true. Because hey, obviously, if you got some phones, if you got some tables, and that means you got that respect coming.
Right.
Because if you don't, that means if that's the case, then we just taking over everything, and it was never like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. I always give my respect, bro, because every man, I don't care what color you are, like anybody can be a fool. Anybody can you know, be activated and you know what I mean, be strapped up and out here in the streets. Like it all depends on the individual, man. And every group has their goons and their, you know, thumbs down. You know what I mean?
Right.